Wait, so my ADHD is connected to my endometriosis? Have you ever found yourself lying in bed with a heating pad, crying from cramps again, wondering, is this just some normal period stuff or something more going on? Oh, and you also feel like your brain is super foggy, you're more easily distracted, and you can't even motivate to do the seemingly smallest, simplest of tasks. Yeah, same. I also have endometriosis and ADHD. Well, actually, ADHD because my brain likes to do a little bit of extra. Welcome to the Dr. Brighten Show, where we burn the BS in women's health to the ground. I'm your host, Dr. Jolene Brighten, and if you've ever been dismissed, told your symptoms are normal or just in your head, or been told just to deal with it, this show is for you. And if while listening to this, you decide you like this kind of content, I invite you to head over to drbrighten.com, where you'll find free guides, twice weekly podcast releases, and a ton of resources to support you on your journey. Let's dive in. Okay, so ADHD and endo, why are we even talking about this? So here's something that not a lot of people are even aware of. People with ADHD are more likely to have endometriosis and vice versa. There's research behind this, even though we only allocate $2 per endometriosis patient in the United States, we do have some research behind this connection. In one Swedish study, it was found that women with endometriosis had a higher chance of being diagnosed with ADHD. And this is wild. Women with ADHD were also more likely to be later diagnosed with endo. It's a two-way street. These things are connected, and women have been saying this for generations. They've felt this connection. It's why we have to believe women, always. But what even is endometriosis? So if you're not familiar with endometriosis, it's a chronic inflammatory condition where tissue that's similar, kind of like the lining of your uterus, but not quite, grows outside of it. So it's on the ovaries, the fallopian tubes, the bladder, the bowels, basically places it should not be, and it causes inflammation, scar tissue, and a ton of pain, like curl up on the bathroom floor pain, or GI symptoms that are so bad that you get misdiagnosed with irritable bowel syndrome or IBS. Now, contrary to popular belief, endometriosis is not just a reproductive issue. These tissues can be anywhere in the body and they cause inflammation. They respond to your hormones and they bleed, and that gets your nervous system all kinds of hot and bothered. Now, neurodivergence in endo, yep, that's a thing. And it's not just ADHD. Neurodivergent folks in general, like those with autism, also seem to be more likely to have endometriosis. We suspect that's because there's a cluster of genes that like to ride along with neurodivergent conditions, autoimmune disease, and endometriosis. Researchers at Cambridge found autistic people had higher rates of multiple chronic conditions, including endometriosis. Yup, it's not just in our heads. Our whole body is asking for help too. So why the link? The overlap between ADHD and endometriosis probably comes down to shared factors like chronic inflammation. Both are linked to immune system dysregulation. We know that ADHD people, they can have immune system dysregulation, and that is at the crux of a lot of the endometriosis symptoms we suffer from as well. Hormone sensitivity is another factor. Estrogen influences ADHD symptoms, and it also fuels endo growth. Fatigue and sleep disruption, which worsens executive function, can be present in both ADHD and endo. Genetics and brain-body connection, still being studied, but playing a large piece in the puzzle. Also, both of these conditions, as I said before with endometriosis, endometriosis and ADHD are hugely underdiagnosed and understudied in women, especially if you are high masking or your symptoms don't fit the textbook. Sound familiar? So how does this show up? Having both ADHD and endo might look like forgetting your heating pad, but remembering random trivia, because that's super helpful, right? If you know, you know. I have been there. Brain fog and pain flares, plus hormonal mood swings, they all equal executive dysfunction soup, if you will. You may also have doctors who are blaming your symptoms on stress or anxiety, or you just need to get more organized. It's not uncommon for women with ADHD or endometriosis to feel gaslit or dismissed over and over again. In fact, you're not just feeling that way. Odds are it's actually happening. Basically, trying to manage chronic illness with a neurodivergent brain is like trying to juggle fire with one hand tied behind your back. So let's talk about what you can do. You're not imagining it. Firstly, I need you to know you're not imagining it and you're definitely not alone. Here is what I would recommend you consider doing next. First, track your symptoms across your cycle, both pain and ADHD symptoms, because they can go hand in hand. But we also have to look at symptoms like fatigue, insomnia, irritability, anxiety, joint pain, and digestive issues. Headaches too, because these can all be linked to what's happening in your immune system or if endometriosis is causing an inflammatory flare. If you suspect you have ADHD, or you know you already do, I invite you to download my free 5-day mini hormone ADHD course at drbrighten.com/sync, where I teach you how to work with your hormones instead of constantly working against them. I'd also invite you to consider asking for an endo evaluation if you have GI issues, fatigue, pelvic pain that can be around ovulation with menstruation or other times in the month, like having a bowel movement. Consider increasing your omega-3 fatty acids with diet and maybe adding supplementation as well, as this can help with both pain and ADHD symptoms. And in line with dietary changes, we want to aim for daily fiber intake that you can tolerate, but ideally working ourselves up to 25 grams of fiber daily, because this can help remove excess estrogen, which can stimulate the endometriosis tissues that cause pain, and help support immune modulating gut bacteria, which can help keep the endobelly in check and your symptoms at bay. You also want to advocate for ADHD testing if focus, mood, and emotional regulation are a struggle. If you're not evaluated yet, it's a good idea to get it checked up on and to know what you're actually working with. I know that it can be difficult to get evaluated for ADHD as a woman. That's why I still offer you actionable steps of things you can do now to start taking charge of your health, your hormones, and your brain. I would also encourage you to talk to providers about how your brain affects your pain management. Women with ADHD, they can be more sensitive to pain, but living with endometriosis can also influence mood issues, which is really important because having ADHD can put you at risk for anxiety and depression. And lastly, we want to build a healthcare team that understands neurodivergence and chronic illness, and ones that are going to support you instead of gaslight you. Okay, here's the thing. You don't have to pick one identity. Your body and your brain are both real and valid, as is your experience. And I say this because sometimes doctors are like, well, you have a diagnosis of ADHD, so that's all your problems. Or you have a diagnosis of endometriosis, so that's all your problems. And friend, I have to be the one to tell you that neurodivergent brains have several comorbidities riding with them. And we also know that with endometriosis, we can see neurodivergence, autoimmunity, anxiety, and other symptoms as well. As a woman and a doctor who has endometriosis plus adenomyosis, autism, and ADHD, I want you to know you're not alone. And I'd love to hear from you. Have you experienced this overlap between ADHD and endo? I want to talk more about this in the comments, and I want to invite you to share your story, because the more we speak up, the less we feel alone. And if this video has helped you feel seen, please consider subscribing, turning on notifications, and joining me while we are making brain-body connections every single week. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. If you could like, subscribe, or leave a review. It helps me so much in getting this information out to everyone who needs it. If you enjoyed this conversation, then I definitely want you to check out this.